Al here tonight?
Yeah.
Fine. I miss anyone? Michael, Ken Joras, Brian, Dave, Phil, Al, Tom, Ryan, and Kent Campbell. Anybody else? I miss anybody? Yourself? I got me on there. So we have 10 brothers. Okay.
Did you get Tom Hicks?
Yeah, I got it.
Is that Tom?
There you go.
Which
I got
Tom?
him on there.
Oh, there's another Tom? Oh, yeah, I know that Tom. You want to, are you here? Hi, Tom.
The minutes for the last meeting, I know Ken sent them. I don't know if you folks got a chance, but I know he sent them. They were in for the November meeting. We didn't have a December meeting because of snow. So we'll diligently try and find those before the end of the meeting so we can review them. So I'd like to move along. We have a guest speaker tonight. He kind of helped us out by not being here in December, I guess, because of snow. It was kind of a mutual kind of thing. He traveled away. It's Randy Kramer from Aqua Control. They're the ones that we determined, I think, that are going to be the best opportunity for the rangery this year. And I asked as many people that could come, put information out. So, you know, I know you're busy and you worked all day, so I'd like you to come up and just basically explain what you're going to do for us and or answer any questions that they have.
Yep. So yeah, from Quality Control, we're the guys that retrieved the lake not this year, the year before. We treated all 4 of the main lakes. So what we were talking about doing this coming year was treating the biggest lake and also the smallest lake on the same program that we were doing last year. Would be every other week treatment for weeds and algae. So that's what we were talking about. And then we proposed some ideas doing some more fish management work out there. That would first start would be a fish survey, doing electrofishing survey where you can actually see what kind of fish are in there, and then you can actually get some management strategies and goals out of that to improve all the fisheries. So that's any questions you guys have. I'll be happy to answer.
Can you go over a little bit about the chemical agent that you're going to be using? And I think a lot of people are fearful that it's going to cause people to grow extra arms and legs and all that stuff, and it's a concern. So I just want to make sure that the folks hear it from you. They have some understanding and they can tell the other folks that aren't here.
Yeah, I can give you the exact chemicals that we used a couple of years ago. I may have even done that for you, Ken. The majority of it was copper sulfate that controls your algae and Cara, which is the biggest problem, especially on the small lake, was algae and Cara. Also, you got some algae on your biggest lake. Then the other product we used to control the naiads was called flumioxazin. Flumioxazin. Yes, flumi. That's the active ingredient. There's a bunch of different brand names of it out there. It's kind of a more broad spectrum herbicide. Everything we use is rated for aquatic use to be used in lakes and ponds, rated to be used in water. Everything is safe for fish as long as you use it appropriate. You're not just dumping in way too much. It's all appropriate. Even we're working on our reports right now. I have to submit every chemical that we use in every pond to the EPA at the end of the year just to make sure everything is being used appropriately and is being used. Those are chemicals we use. So usually the biggest issue people have, I guess, is a lot of times you see if people overtreat a lake, especially in the heat of the summer, can cause some fish kills. Usually that's caused by depletion of oxygen. So all of our guys, they carry oxygen meters to prevent that from happening. If there is low oxygen for some reason, then they'll adjust their treatment and treat appropriately. So we take every, and use the same chemicals we can.
For pets and people.
You could jump in the boat right behind us if you want to. I'd probably wait a little bit, but yes, you can. Yep.
And what's, I'm sorry, I'm asking all the questions, is that okay?
Yeah.
So other people, I'm kind of relaying some things that I've heard.
Sure.
Okay? And they're saying they're calling them forever chemicals, which I know they're not, because that's plasticized and, you know, all the other stuff. But what's like the half-life of?
I don't know what I have off the top of my head.
You know, there's several products that we could be using, and he mentioned ones that we've used. I'm sorry, I'm Mike Whitaker with Quality Control. There's the products that we used last time around. We have a lot of other chemicals, a lot of other aquatic products in our tool bag, and we can't say for certain what's going to pop up in your lakes this year is the same things that popped up last year. So we don't know exactly what chemicals we're going to use until we see the plants that are developing, because different plants require different products. But the products that we do use are all EPA registered, and the EPA is very careful on what chemicals they allow to be used in water resources. So products that would could be used in the ag setting, that would be approved for use in the ag setting or on your grass or in your home, those are all, they also go through the EPA registration process. But when it comes to putting anything in water, they take a much closer look at it, because they don't want those to accumulate. So specifically, to address your question is, they really look down on, they rarely approve a product that has a significant half-life in the water column. These products break down quickly when they are put into the aquatic ecosystem, into their constituent components. So there's very few that last one that we use is fluorocarbon, and it can remain in the water for months, and that's the longest term product we use, and we wouldn't be using that product on this lake. Usually it's a matter of hours to days, so it's in and out of the aquatic environment pretty quickly.
For the committee, good. The names of these, you know.
Would you spell it, please?
Yeah.
That's what mine.
The names of these substances and their half-lives.
Oh, yeah, it's
Probably look it up. Right, the data sheet.
FLUMI, Flumi, and OXICYN. I might have the I and the Y flipped.
It's closer than I have.
Yes.
When you're talking about the small lakes, are you talking about Spring Lake too? I know.
Nope, we're leaving Spring Lake alone.
Okay,
Randy,
now you
yeah,
did do
could you kind of
Spring
go
Lake
through-
for the algae one, the year you did it.
Correct.
Can we have that done again?
When we were out there last year, 2 years ago, the only thing that ever grew out there was the water willow, which is the tall grass. And there was a very small amount of algae that we saw pop up.
No, that's not.
We can,
Move our boats and look in the boat slip and stuff.
well,
Because when
that's-
you're out swimming in the boat slip and out in the middle of the lake, you're being attacked by the algae.
sure.
That year was absolutely amazing and awesome. I mean, I can show pictures, I've got them, so I can send them to the board.
I'll give a price for it,
Okay.
and then you guys can take it from there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
What would you do for cyanobacteria?
So that goes along with the algae treatments.
Okay.
The best way to control that is just with routine copper treatment, algae
Because
treatment.
there was somebody that was
very knowledgeable about that kind of stuff, saw it on Spring Lake. He said it's starting. It's not bad, it's starting,
It's,
but you gotta get a handle on it.
yes, and that, that's a topic that I did want to mention to you guys, just to keep in mind. It grows everywhere. Cyanobacteria from small to the biggest, and it's always there. It's just how dense and how thick it grows. And usually when you're seeing it, you see like a green film scum on the surface, or the whole water column will turn like a pea soup color, and that's when it's a problem. And when it gets that bad, it's hard to turn around and reverse that. So yes, you're right. The best way is to just stay ahead of it with routine treatments. There are other avenues you can go down with some like nutrient remediation stuff to take phosphorus and nitrogen out of water, because cyanobacteria, algae, it's like any other plant, it lives on fertilizer. So the more phosphorus you have, the more growth you're gonna have.
Have you had a chance to take a look at Spring Lake this year?
I have not.
I mean, right now it shouldn't be too bad because it's January. But how did it look during the summer of 2025? Was awful.
Yeah, it was bad. Well, and the guy who was telling, it was like late August, early September that this kind of accident. He said, he goes, you gotta get a handle on it, it's gonna take over your lake. Now, you know, we're in a cove where it's less shallow, it's shallow and stuff like that. So, you know, it'll start there and.
And that is the worst time of the year for cyanobacteria. I mean, June through September is when it likes to go. And the other thing I wanted to mention, it's a balance in lakes between what grows. Something is going to grow, whether it's like the naiads that you have up here on the bigger lake or cyanobacteria on Spring Lake. So if you push it out of balance and kill too many weeds, then you're probably going to have more cyanobacteria. So there's a balance there that you have.
Well, what you guys did 2 years ago was, I mean, you still had weeds, and there was a problem with that, but it was the clearest we've ever seen.
And
You did a good job.
awesome. And it is, makes it nicer. Algicides, copper sulfate, that is safe to use on irrigation lakes too. So that does make it, since you guys watered the golf course with that, that's doable.
Is there any advantage or disadvantage to treating them preventatively versus waiting until we have an issue, or do you have to get ahead of it in order for your chemicals to work?
Yeah, if you, so he was talking about oxygen depletions early on, and if you wait until, let's say, July, and all of a sudden you get a big film of blue-green algae on the lake, you're probably already beyond the point where we can do much for you.
I have a picture, if you guys wanna see it.
Take a peek at it maybe later on, but basically once you get cell densities up 50, 60,000 milligrams per liter, aren't going to do you much good, and even if they did, we could cause serious oxygen problems, which stress out the fish. So if we go in before it gets to that, a lot of our programs focusing specifically on blue-green algae, we use a threshold of 10,000 cells per 10,000 cells per, what is that, milliliter, and is our trigger that we need to do an application. That way we keep it down below where it just is bonkers and we can't do anything about it. We hit it before it gets to that point. But with periodic treatments like we got in the clean maintenance program, we're hitting it frequently enough that the intention is we'll keep it below that threshold anyway. So.
I have a question for you guys. 5 to 10 years ago, on excellent shad population, And now that shad population seems to have been diminished, and some people with the good sonars can not see the shad. I don't see them hitting them like they used to in the fall. What could chemicals have killed off all our shad, and what can we do about it?
What are we talking about? Threadfin?
Threadfin. There was gizzard shad in here also, but you wouldn't see that not very often, just in the early spring or very back. But we had a big threadfin shad population.
Gotcha.
Is one of those chemicals a herbicide that you guys are putting in?
Yeah, the fleet is.
That'll deteriorate the zoo and phytoplankton then and cut out of the food chain possibly? Could that be doing something?
It shouldn't. It's going to just work on the plankton, not that low of the single cell.
What do you think happened to our shad, and what can we do to get it back?
I don't have a lot of experience with threadfin shad. I have more with gizzard shad. They're kind of an undesirable species, but threadfin, I think they're pretty delicate fish that are more prone to issues and diseases and stuff. But do you have any specific knowledge on that?
Yeah, I don't. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of folks ask us a lot what's happened to this scenario. Without more data, without more information, it's kind of hard to make a guess on what could happen. But often, either there's an imbalance in
Our fish population and having a good fish balance. Is that something we need to concentrate on? We don't have shad.
Normally, we focus on bluegill as being the primary source of food out there instead of shad.
Once the bluegill get to a certain point, so I was talking to a biologist about it. They said once you'll catch some bigger fish, but you'll catch a lot of smaller fish. They can't eat those big bluegill, so they say you're either gonna have big bass or you're gonna have big bluegill. We have giant bluegill. We have few big bass. Those big bluegills.
Yeah. And my next, I mean, it's I don't
We
have
have
the data, but
so. I guess I've been recording it for 4 years now in the tournaments, and we're getting about 1.75 pounds average on anything over 14 inches.
okay.
And that's probably 1,500 fish brought in, if I had to guess. I have all of it back at the house.
Sure.
So when you do the electrofishing, will you be able to tell more when that happens as far as if the bluegill are kind of crazy in here, would it be something we would do again in fall, electro, and then capture them to kind of balance it, or how does it work?
Yeah, so that's yes, that is the primary goal of doing that is collect data to see what all the species are like, bluegill, bass, the shad, see what they're all like, and if there are fish that are benefiting the lake, they're not healthy for the lake, then we could remove them right there.
looking for the size structure of the different populations, and the number of fish in each, within the fish community. Do we have a nice balance between bass, bluegill, threadfin, and we have a degree in fisheries, but when it comes to the fish service that focus specifically on aquatic control is to focus on the fisheries side of things. So, your threadfin shad, although I might not be terribly knowledgeable about them, our fisheries guy will be able to help you out with some of those considerations.
So when they do the electrofishing, they do it in the evening,
We would probably start at sunset.
and I mean, is it something we need to get to the community, just kind of let them know what's going on to kind of
Yeah.
inhibit big waves and all this stuff from going on?
Yeah.
How long does it take when you're doing it?
We'd probably be out there for a few hours per lake.
And then once you get your data, your information,
all the data, all of everything. What would you do with this?
Right.
So,
We have our, that's gonna be writing the report. He's the one that first takes a look at it. He submits it to a couple of different folks within the company to peer review internally. So we don't wanna, just shove our report to you as soon as we get it. There's a process. We don't wanna give you an unfinished,
But there's enough time in between when they do it and the data we receive for us to make an educated decision what the next step would be.
yeah, usually you're not stocking fish, harvesting fish till the fall or fall, spring. So there's time between where we would get the report to you and give you our recommendations on what to do.
Will you set up a schedule like 2 years ago? We were all very happy with how it worked, and you had, it was like this is just possibly, it was like December and January one time, and then February, March, April 2 times, and then through the summer 4 times.
Yep.
Is that what you'll do?
Yeah, so yes, we're it's on the schedule. The contract would be every other week treatments, April through September. So if it's Monday, we'd be out here every other Monday all summer long. And it would be the same guy that was here 2 years ago. It'd be the same one coming treatment. Yes.
So you won't start till April, you don't think? So there won't be any one treatment up into April?
No.
Okay.
No, now,
Okay.
I mean, we can always come down if something weird pops up. We can always come down and if something weird pops up before April. Usually April through, that's the growing season for the weeds and algae
Okay.
and even the cyanide area. So that's usually what we're targeting.
So, to the board, because I don't, this is way over my head. Is this correcting or helping the oxygen problem that's only 15 foot deep that seems to be an issue? Had nothing to do with that, right? This is just going to clear the water, get rid of some of the weeds that we don't like, and there's still more processes that happen to make this lake healthy.
if you got oxygen down to 15 foot, that's pretty good for a lot of Missouri lakes. You guys are interested in getting down certification and getting oxygen deeper, we can look at that. For lakes this size though, it's gonna be a pretty big budgetary consideration. We'd be happy to work something out with you on whatever lakes you'd be interested in.
You may have missed one of the earlier meetings. I think Dave Cox said it best, is, this is a 4 or 5 prong approach.
Okay.
We're not gonna make this lake, the best lake in Missouri in the summer. We're gonna treat the lake. What people have to understand is there's 3 facets to the lake. There's people that fish, people that boat, people that wanna swim in the coves, and what we're trying to do is make an equal balance. I don't think it's fair to people living in the cove that don't fish. They can't have their family here on the holidays to swim because the naiads entangling their boats and they feel creepy getting in the water. I get it. So we're trying to do the best we can. So we're taking an approach that the naiad is something we have to do. We're trying to make sure that the fish habitat gets better. There's more other things we're doing is artificial nests and stuff for the fish, that we're talking about doing with PVC pipes and that kind of stuff. So it is a big
Step one.
What you gotta do is, when I'm gone and these guys are gone, hopefully the next crew just keeps staying on it and staying on it and staying on it. It's imperative. That's why we have such a diverse and such a large group in the lakes and beaches, because one person can't do it all. You have to have everybody in the lake being employed for the same things. And I think it's important that everybody understands that. We're not gonna make it perfect the first summer, but we can try to make it the best we can. And I'll revert back. It was July 4th. I read it and I almost, I was kind of blowing up feeling for her. It's July 4th, she had her family down here. It's one weekend, she wanted to get them all together. She's in the cove and, she was heartbroken. She couldn't get her family couldn't swim. And I just felt terrible, I'm like, man, I'm not even on board, and I think that's horrible, that you would have that, and I don't think it's fair to everybody to pay the money you pay to live here and not be able to utilize the lake and the we should.
As far as the Naiad goes, you know, now that it's infested, are we ever gonna get rid of it, or is it something that's always gonna be there?
If you stay on top for several years in a row, yes, you can get rid of it. I don't know about 100% get rid of it, but definitely be a lot better. But
Takes at least 2 consecutive years to get rid of it.
Naiad goes down pretty deep, I mean, 25.
20 foot,
Is
yeah.
there,
25 feet of water still catching it.
we're fortunate. Autumn and not spring. I'm happy because we can't use herbicides in Spring Lake. Is there anything we can do as a community to try to eliminate or reduce the movement of Naiad from Autumn Lake to any of the other lakes?
I think the biggest thing is if people take their boat from one lake to the other,
Yeah.
cleaning your boat or letting it sit out for a week.
Shower it off,
dry.
or how long does it need to sit dry, or what's the,
I think it's a week. It needs to sit dry.
if you rinse it off, does that, kind of like zebra mussels, does that help?
Zebra mussels is bleach with hot water to do that. Power washing.
We don't have that, I'm just using it as an example. For Naiad,
Unfortunately, different species have different times that it takes for drying to take care of them. So we're actually, oddly enough, we're doing a research project within aquatic control, taking a bunch of plants, letting them dry out for specific periods of time, and then introducing them to water to see how they grow. So there's a lot of species out there. It's going to take us a while to get through a lot of species, but unfortunately, it's not. I don't think we can say it takes a week for all plants, though. I believe a week would probably encompass all plants.
Should get most of them.
Yeah.
we should try to limit the amount of time we use a kayak in one lake and then immediately go to another lake. Just use it in that lake that day and then a different lake another day completely.
Yeah.
Spray some bleach on it or something.
Okay.
I mean, you can do what you can, but with this many, lake residents popping back and forth, it can be
I don't
challenging.
know that a lot of big boats do, but I'm just more worried about small craft.
Gotcha.
And if it does happen, there are irrigation safe herbicides also.
Well, we'd rather avoid it than use
Yes.
more chemicals.
But if it does come to that, it is
Okay.
So is there anything in conjunction with when they come to treat the lake that residents could do or need to do, or there's nothing really we can do to benefit or help?
Oh, not, I mean, the plants are already here, so there's not much you can do, to get rid of them.
For blue-green algae, and algae in general, probably all have heard, don't fertilize around the lake. That's easier said than done. People like green grass, but unfortunately what turns your grass green will also can turn your lake green. So if you can limit the amount of fertilizers that go along the shore of the lake, that would definitely benefit specifically.
How far away from the edge of the lake
Department of Conservation says 50-foot buffer zone, and that's actually assuming that you're mowing in that section too. So,
any lawn maintenance chemicals to get green grass is actually impacting the quality of the lake.
Anywhere you fertilize that drains into the lake.
Even cutting your grass and mulching it and having it on there, throwing nitrogen right back in.
It decomposes in the
So
lake.
we should bag it, dispose of it, get rid of the nitrogen.
That's what I would recommend.
yeah, but I think more important is just those fertilizers that you're putting on the grass, because those are more, they're more ready for plant uptake when it gets to the lake.
Are those lawn fertilizers working against what you guys are doing?
Well, it don't make our life easier.
I mean, they just encourage the plants to grow, and we do the opposite. Kill the plants. It's not like our fertilizers are, or the fertilizers are working with the herbicides, I guess. They're working against them.
But if we didn't have lawn fertilizer applications, that would be better.
But unfortunately, it's hard to get this, many people
There's a
to
lot of
agree to that, and we understand that, and we fight it all the time, so it's not like we can't do stuff if there's fertilizer getting in there, it just sometimes can make things a little more difficult.
You're saying around the lake, I live on the lake, but there's also people that live up 3-4 tiers up. And when it rains, there's a lot of drainage that comes in this lake. It is like a Colorado River on the side of my house when it rains hard in the spring. Fertilizers everywhere.
Yep.
Anywhere that would drain into the lake, no matter how far away it is.
I don't know if this will be your area of expertise, but one of our problems is our fish are stunted here, and we need more fish cover in here. It used to be Lakes and Beaches rule that you couldn't have brush, had to be at least a minimum 12 feet deep, because we're afraid people dive in the water and take the brush. What would your recommendation be, the depth of our brush should be?
I would like to see it shallow than 12 foot.
I've heard 6 to 8.
5 to 7 foot is a good range, because that's where a lot of your prey fish are sitting. Your bluegill, and that's the primary. Your habitat is for your little fish, and then your bass, crappie, whatever. They'll come to it. They're coming to the prey. That's there. They're coming. So I would like to see it shallower if you guys can. But,
Or a combination, a little bit of deep and shallow.
combination would be best, because fish move up and down as the weather changes and whatnot.
I believe that there's
Just
been waiting.
Clarification, I know Randy, when you started, you said that you're only gonna do autumn and the small lake. So is our board decided not to do Spring Lake at this time, or is that something that's for discussion? I mean, that's not your call, I know,
Yeah,
but.
I don't know if anything has been a price for those 2 lakes. I guess that's where we're at.
Okay.
I don't know what has been decided. I can get you a price for whatever you want. So
You guys did an awesome job 2 years ago, so I recommend that Spring Lake is.
and that's price for all 4, just for 3 of them again. So you guys next.
I kind of echo some of the things the gentleman up here said about the brush and the shad, because I've mapped the whole entire lake, and there's nothing in it besides weeds. There is a few brush piles left. Everything down there, and there is so little brush, and this is the only lake I've fished that I cannot find a bowl of shad in it.
Mm-hmm.
And every lake, you go to Lake the Ozarks, I fished a lake down in St. John, I can find a ball of shad within probably 10 or 15 minutes. And I don't know which one you guys said, enough stunted fish. And I'm sure that's why, is because there is no shad in this lake that I can find. Yes, I can find a little school of shad that'll pop up on my depth finder, but not the big bowl of shad that you can basically watch the fish underneath it attack through the shad. It's just not there. And that's where all your other fish, the whole ecosystem's coming through.
Normally, when you have stunted bass, it's because you don't have enough food, and you also have too many of your small bass. So
I can go out there and I can catch 15, 25 fish that are all like this. Every single one of them is a cookie cutter. Once in a while, I get a bigger fish, something a little smaller, but I'm talking the main bulk of the fish is, he'll probably know from what he's already said, 15 to 25 feet deep, because there's no structure, so they're hanging on a main lake point. There's nothing around them.
yeah,
And there's no forage for them to go find.
So I have a question. If we know the smaller bass are the issue here, and I think everybody who fishes here realizes that, when you do the electrofishing, would there be any benefit to getting a group of fishermen and volunteers together that when those fish are shot, we can collect those and get a certain portion of them out of the water?
I would take every single one. Have fish fry.
You're gonna take them?
Ryan
cleaning that.
Ryan said somebody's gotta volunteer to clean them all.
So the conservation told us 125 fish or 125 pounds per acre per year for 3 years. That's an unreasonable number.
It is.
It will not.
They talk about the green fish.
Green sunfish.
The green sunfish. So the green sunfish are there, and the regular sunfish are there, and they're floating on top of the water. Can you tell the difference?
Yes.
One's green.
Okay. Get you guys together.
Yeah. Well, they're also saying that red-eared, if you have red-eared sunfish, they will take care of. I mean, conservation says to slot, the 8 to 10 inchers, the red-eared sunfish will eat them.
Red ears eat more of like mussels or snails or something like that. So they're really good at helping if you have parasites in your fish. They're really good at helping with that. So yeah, red ears are good. Like green sunfish, not me.
So if you don't just take the small bass out of there, what other option is there?
You got set up.
They said we could drive around behind them. They said we could drive around behind them and harvest them with nets if we want.
And that's
We may.
I mean, electrofishing, you
But what are we
catch a
gonna do
lot
with
of
them?
fish,
Right.
but it's still not gonna catch however many thousands of fish a day. So
We'll have some data so we can.
Also, one of our other lakes has go out periodically. 5 times a year, and that's all we do is we shot bass up. So we'd be happy to just, it's not an electrofishing survey, it's just a fish removal, so we use the same equipment.
They stay stunned?
15, 20 seconds, something like that.
they're up in the air back.
Nets.
How deep's that go?
6 foot at best. And that's part of why you do it at night.
I was gonna say, if you do that during the day or something, you're not.
Especially with
They hear
clear water.
your boat coming 40 foot away.
Clear water.
It's crazy.
They
Oh yeah. Yeah, on a cloudy day, you can see fish out there at 40 foot. And I'm talking, you can ease up to them.
I have a question. Other things that you get involved that is being carried into the lakes. Do you all get involved with looking at issues like that or no?
It'd be tough for us just because of manpower, I think.
Yeah, there isn't, I mean, just, you can see when you go back up in the shallow in there, so, yeah, there's debris still coming in.
But you don't get involved in how to manage that?
The best way to manage it is to scoop it out or suck it out, dredge it out, is the best way to do it.
Well, the only problem with dredging it out works, but it fills right back in. So dredging it out is one thing, but you're not fixing the problem. You're putting a Band-Aid on the wound. Okay.
Yeah, and that's, I believe I have sent you guys a contact for a guy to talk to that I would recommend talking to, but that's out of the scope of what we do. Yeah.
So last year when we didn't treat, a lot of us were out there with rakes, which sometimes that exacerbates the problem because you're not getting the root and everything else.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Naiad's one of the plants that you leave a little piece this big, it'll float somewhere, re-anchor, and start sprouting.
Now with the lake level being lower this year and kind of pulling it back, it's drying out, is it killing it or is it just reseeding it?
Yeah.
There's a study.
So I know some lakes do a winter drawdown. They'll draw it down 5 foot and they'll kill it, everything, try to smooth it a little bit.
Some species that does work.
Naiad.
Naiad, it makes it grow more.
was pretty broad in scope, and I can't remember what species. But lake drawdowns do benefit some species, and others it seems like it makes worse, and others it just doesn't affect. So, but yeah.
I guess the one thing with, when I was out there a couple years ago, I did see one patch of good plants out there. If you, broadleaf pondweed has a leaf about yay big, yay wide that it just floats right on top. I saw like one patch of it.
Like a willow leaf almost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good plant to have. Good for fish habitat. So if that does start growing more, that's one I would keep for you guys.
And I don't know what you guys think of your water willow. It's the shoreline plant that stands up out of the water. You guys familiar with water willow at all?
Yeah, what's on Spring Lake?
That's also can be landscaped too. So
Yeah, some of those plants, well, get rid of the other stuff.
We're not gonna get rid of it, but yes, they can. It is also very difficult. Just about anything will kill an aquatic plant when you try to plant it. Whether it's fungus, bacteria, or if a goose just comes right behind you and rips it out of the water.
it's probably be a multi-year project. You'd have to try and get, for instance, water willow is one that the Department of Conservation plants quite a bit. You go in there year one, you get it as established as you can. Probably, maybe you're successful on 25% of your plots, and then the next year you just try and expand that, and hopefully at some point it'll hit a level where it kind of takes on its own. And then 10 years down the line, folks want us to kill it around their dogs. So it's kind of.
Now the object of like the water willow is to push out the nitrogen coming into the habitat before it gets to the naiad.
Just kind of compete with it, yeah.
Right.
Well, what would be a handful of the aquatic plants that you would recommend?
Water willow is the easiest, I think. It seems like it's the most successful.
That would be something you guys could do yourself since you got a lake full of it right next door. So grab some and start.
How does it grow in rocks?
You got to get it established. So you got to push it down in the mud, and it's got to anchor in place, and it's got to be at the right depth to get established. So in rocks, it's going to be more difficult than obviously the best is nice loamy soil.
So in general, water, you plant in 2 feet of water?
Maybe a little shallower. I'd start with like a foot in water. I mean, you can, when you walk around Spring Lake, exactly where it's growing now, that's where it likes to grow.
Grass carp don't, when there's an established population, don't seem to have any effect on water willow, but when you're first trying to establish it, they just really seem to like it. So sometimes you might even have to put some type of protection around it if your grass carp are being active and feeding on it.
A lot of times the department, they'll build a little cage and put around the plants for the first year until they get established.
Now, if the lake does come down, say it's in 2 foot water, lake comes down 2 foot, is it okay? Or is
When it's first, then
Yeah.
it needs to be established to make it through that.
Those are some of the reasons why it's difficult to get aquatic plants established. You'll probably say some colorful words if you're in the project for a while.
Anybody have any other questions for him? Randy,
You mentioned grass carp. What actually do plants do they eat, and do they really
Yeah.
do any good?
They like the delicate
Do they eat
rooted
naiad?
plants. They do eat naiad. They don't eat algae very well, if at all. What else? They don't do cattails or substantial plants usually.
They like the real fine thing like grass looking stuff. stuff that grows up from the bottom. So naiads, some of the species of pondweeds.
Is that it?
So the bigger the carp, the bigger the food? No. 'Cause
Other way
that's a
around.
big carp. Yeah,
Other way
for the-
around. When they,
It's your teenagers that eat you out of house and home. It's gonna be the teenage grass carp that do a majority of the.
when they get big, they actually switch to eating more bugs and worms and stuff. So when they're big, they're just another big fish. Help you out.
So the time schedule will be start in April for the, and when would you suggest shocking the lake?
May into May.
May into May. Okay.
Because you want to do it in the spring. And we tried to time it right around when the bluegill and red deer are spawning too, so we get a better number of what they're doing.
Okay.
Is usually what we're trying.
I guess my other question would be, if we already know we have a strong bass population, are we really gonna get much out of a survey? I mean, we already know what we got, we just.
A bigger thing that it will tell us, well, it would get us the data, which is huge. Or if you can give us the data, that'd be useful. But it also gives a lot of data on the bluegill, red ear, and shad, all the other fish besides the bass, which is probably more important than what the bass structure is like.
Okay. And you'd recommend red ear, whether it's a big lake, small lake, anything, to stock the red ear?
You can like how many, or what do you mean?
But just in general, it's good to have them.
Yeah, red ear are good to have. They help keep down parasites, and they're just another food source for your bass and other predators out there.
What about, I hear about the hybrid bluegill. Do you have an opinion on that?
I would keep them out.
Keep the hybrid out.
I wouldn't put them in. Usually they're fun to catch for the first 5 years or so, but then they reproduce down to green sunfish. After left with a problem, so I would stay away from that.
City gets together about the invasive fish. Do they do this with a paddle boat? Do they do this with kayaks, rowboats? What type of boats?
When we come out and shock you?
No, when a group of volunteers get in and throw out the invasive fish that are all coming to the top.
During the survey, when they do the electroshocking, the question
right.
was, would there be a benefit to try to get some of those small bass out of there? I don't know if we know the answer to that yet. I don't think it can hurt anything, but can you get out of there to make any difference? I think that's the question, right?
And a 3-year period, they want us to take 7,625 fish.
Okay.
If we do a fish survey, if we do a fish survey and you have historical survey reports from the department, it would be nice if we had an opportunity to take a look at
Do you know
those.
of any prior fish surveys, but
We've had them done, but I don't know where the information is.
do you have any idea how long ago?
There was supposedly one several years back, and the one before that was probably about 7 years ago.
Do you know what office came out to do that?
It was the conservation.
Sullivan, do you think? Because we can call them and they might have records.
Probably St. Charles,
Who's the biologist you've been working with now? Good luck.
no, let me think, John Schulte. John Schulte at the one in, Bush Wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah, Frank had done 2 years.
Yeah.
With Frank. I think I've asked him and he said he might have. Didn't know where they were at.
And they stunned the lake, you were there, they were, right? Oh, okay.
We'll see if we can find those.
Yeah, I'll give John a call too. We're working with him on a couple other projects.
Well, Randy, we appreciate your time.
Thank you guys.
Work all day.
Yeah.
I'll get you some more information. Go from there.
they have 3 days in which they have to, by law, they have to tell you that they're researching it, and then they can just take their free time getting into it, and that's what they're doing. I did speak with Dale Miller. He's planning weather permitting to be available, and also Danny Schwantner to meet with Dale and myself to go over the concerns with the winter and summer lakes and the spillway. I know it's going to rain. He was wanting to do it Friday, but he can't. Wait until next week. I think we need to have further discussion. We kind of voted on it, and then I kind of talked to Kent, and we have samples that were taken over 1.5 years ago of the lake, and it's water samples of what the lake was. And thinking about it, would spend close to $500 to have somebody read those results, and they're old news, meaning 1.5 years old. The samples, I think, would be better served if we had new samples taken. I think part of it was Kent was in charge, and then as leaving, then we got somebody else involved, and that person didn't follow through, so that's where the lack of another year went by. So basically, somebody can do the research for the data we give them on the lake samples. When I give it to you, it's gonna be almost 2 years old.
You know, Mike, does Aquatic Control do that before they start to treat for the season?
That would have been a good question to ask him. I can ask him.
I should have thought about that.
Sure, I can ask him. I think that there was somebody, can't help me out on this one, somebody here, the gentleman was with the zoo. And I think that's who we're gonna use, and.
David Jarvis.
Okay, and I think we were good with him. I think he's probably more reasonable. I'm not saying they're more expensive, but I think he may be more reasonable. I just think it's just get the sample.
But he's not gonna do the testing.
No.
Why don't we ask, I'll call him and ask him if that data would still be valid, and if there would be any, because he may say, look, the body of water doesn't change over 20 years, or he may say, no, that stuff's too old. Let me call him and ask him what he says about it.
That's fine.
Because we already approved for him to
I know we did,
give
but
us an idea.
like I said, I'm thinking there's gonna be change in it. I mean, you've got a whole year where the NIAID wasn't as bad as it was this past year. So.
Yeah, but this was more about this wasn't about NIAID, it was all about
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the lake changed.
Right.
And I'm not saying the NIAID changed, I'm
Right.
just saying it changed with the NIAID, so other components in the lake obviously had to change a
Yeah.
lot, but maybe they didn't.
But it may or may not have an effect. Let me ask him. I'll call him.
For those of you that haven't been to the prior meetings, the gentleman sitting over here, Dave Cox, is kind of a computer guru. He's the man that can somebody cut those lights so that people see the fire? And I don't know if you want to sit here, that way you can control it.
It'll be kind of hard to see for everybody back there.
For those of you that haven't been here to prior meetings, the buoys have gotten either misplaced, knocked off, moved, people swim out, move them, whatever. Some of them have drifted off and gotten replaced 6 and 8 months after they were knocked off. So we've basically asked Dave, who's very computer literate, to create, and we've discussed the best locations for all the markers. And I want him to explain that to everybody. And my hope is to discuss it, table it, put something out for the next meeting through Stan, to get more people in the community here, because the next meeting we have in February, we'll vote on it. And if we vote on it, then we're gonna move these buoys in those locations. But I think it's only fair that people that live here don't wake up one day having a cup of coffee, look out, and there's a buoy, and then want to know why it's there. I think it's more important
So what you are looking at is a screenshot of a Google map. I went to Google to do the screenshot because they, when you put this on your computer, they actually have a legend that can identify a measurement or a key that will tell you 100 feet, what 100 feet represents. The reason why 100 feet is critical to this is that my understanding is that Autumn Lake has a 100-foot no-wake zone all the way around the perimeter of the lake. And when you start looking at the current buoy placements or the adjusted buoy placements, it's interesting that those buoys were moved into the area that's actually inside of the 100-foot zone. So what we wanted to do was to identify, with the understanding that we had this 100-foot no-wake zone that went around the perimeter, where can we put these buoys so that we could provide the largest area for enjoying the lake with speedboats, pontoon boats, tubing, skiing, what have you, as well as what could be the safest location for the buoys as boats come into coves and make turns and then go back out. So this is the comprehensive entire map, and then oops. Okay, let's see here. How do I get to the next there? Can I just hit this thing? Computer's broken. So we started with Cove 3 and 4. This is just a zoomed in view of the big map. And what we decided was the boat that's probably one of the most popular boats out on Autumn Lake is the 23 and a half foot pontoon boat. If you take a 23 and a half foot pontoon boat, add a 50-foot tow line, which is what's recommended as the minimum distance from the back end of your boat to a skier or the back end of your boat to a tube, plus you factor in the tube or the skier, and then you project out what that turning radius would be for that boat to turn around, come into a cove, and turn back out. We calculated that the 240-foot diameter radius, which is represented by the green dotted circle here, and you push it into each of the coves as far as you can, you come to realize that the buoy placement, instead of it being a 100-foot marker on Cove 3, it should be way out here so that people can turn safely. And for Cove 4, is wake. You can go fast in those areas, create wake, but there's no way you can turn your boat around. It's just not going to happen safely. So between the radius, or between the boat, the tow line, the tube, and what they call the whip effect, that's where the boat or your rider on the tube swings out even farther than the boat, or your skier swings out farther than the boat. In order to make it through that entire cove, those are where the buoys need to be placed. So we took that and we applied it to the other coves. So on this cove, Cove 5, The current buoy is this yellow indicator here. In order for that to apply into code number 5, we are recommending that that buoy placement move out towards the main channel, and I had it marked at 90 feet, so to move farther away. So, is that making sense? Okay. So we did that for code 5, and then we did it for each of the codes, but code 5 and code 6 are kind of unique. Code 6 is actually the widest code that we have on Autumn Lake, and what we determined was technically we can move the buoys in a lot further into the cove, but then there was some concern over if we move the buoys farther in, is that going to create more of a danger zone with Cove 6, because Cove 6 tends to be the party cove, where a lot of boats tend to hang out, anchor, do whatever. So what we decided was, if we subscribe to the methodology and the rules that we're putting in place, if we manage to the 200-foot turning radius, and then we do not exceed 290 feet from the cove, the mouth of the cove, the extreme mouth of the cove, then we should be able to consistently manage code 5 and 6 to those rules. Code 7, where we have the launch zone, we are saying there's absolutely no reason at this point. Code 7 can turn safely with where the buoys are placed, and we don't, even though it's possible to move the buoys on the other side of the launch zone, we don't want to do that because we don't want to create traffic for people that are launching their boats or taking them out. The next zone would be the beach, and as luck would have it, we didn't necessarily plan it this way, but as luck would have it, those buoys that define the no-wake zone just past are at the extreme of the 100-foot marker anyway. So we don't need to move those buoys. Cove number 1, for all intents and purposes, it kind of subscribes to the 240-foot turning radius. We don't need to move that buoy. If we did, we'd only move it like a foot or two, and it's just not worth the trouble. Cove number 2, we don't necessarily need to move that buoy, but we've had some discussion about the Sophie's house. Their boathouse, if you project out 100 feet from the back end of their boathouse, that creates like a little bump here. And I know that there's only one buoy in cove number 2, and I'm guilty of this myself, where I cut that corner so that I can make that turn on 2 to get through this particular cove. I'm thinking I am violating that 100-foot rule, no wake zone all the time. We may want to consider putting in an additional buoy in this area, but that's open for discussion. So if all of that makes sense, then the last step in the process was I actually went to a website, this gps-coordinates.net, called up our lake, defined where the buoys recommended placements were going to be, and they shot latitude and longitude numbers for us. So I marked all of the current buoys, and then if we wanted to add an additional buoy in cove number 2, these are what the GPS marker coordinates would be. As you can see, there's not a lot of difference. 38.26, it doesn't start to change until you get to the thousandths marker. So there might, I have never placed a buoy before in my life, but I would imagine if I'm out on the lake in a pontoon boat and the wind is blowing and I'm trying to take my phone and hold it and figure out where to drop that marker, there's probably going to be a little bit of give and take. But for all intents and purposes, I think this is the general area that these buoys need to be. Any questions? Anything not make sense? Again, just to repeat, we're doing this for maximum area that we can enjoy, but as safe as possible. That's what ultimately we're trying to do. It was recommended that once we get this thing dialed in, that this become the new map that gets sent to the real estate agents, so that any new homeowners that move into the area, they have this guide to sort of educate them versus the old one, the old map that's been circulating. The old map kind of in these different codes had no wake, and then sort of a startup area for skiers that wanted to get up, you know, maybe even the ones that were just learning, maybe they could start in this area and use codes 3 and 4 as kind of a beginner trainer area. But if we want to be safe, we really need to be consistent with the buoy placements from code to code to code, and then we got to just make sure that we're managing to, you know, not the tightest turning radius boat that's out on the lake, but the one that has the largest turning radius, which is the 23.5-foot pond code line. All right, that's all I got.
I guess the committee, any discussion? I think he admitted he violates it all the time, so I think to make sure, probably get another buoy and put it on that corner.
Would there be any value in putting a couple of buoys in each cove instead of just one? And the reason I say that is, if you had them closer to the points, because I do think a lot of people cut well within 100 feet when they're entering a cove on the points that define where the coves are.
Yeah.
And I don't want to dot our entire lake with buoys everywhere, but it'd be nice, like at Sophie's, you know, 100 feet from Sophie's is quite a ways out there, and that, right there between Sophie's and Al's is like the narrowest spot in the whole lake, and it gets pretty rough out there. It'd be nice to contain some of the boating there, or when they come around some of the curves, come out, if they can go that far back in, when they come out of there, they're probably gonna violate the 100-foot no wake, and if you live on that point, it's gotta be rough on your seawall and your boat if it's.
Tom, what do you think?
I think if you put a bunch at corners, then people will get confused on where's the line, where are you drawing the line? Because you got what, straight line across, you got a buoy deeper in here, not sure.
No, one of the things is, the more buoys, we lose 2 buoys a year, would you say, Tom? On average.
On average.
And how much does a
Past, we would refurbish them, make sure they were good to float, buy cable, make up new anchors, hardware, as far as the cost. But if we didn't have to replace the buoy, it'd be maybe a couple $100, yeah.
Right, and we gotta replace the buoy.
That's another $250, $300.
Yeah, I mean, the more you put in, the more we're gonna break off, the more you're gonna have to replace, the more you're gonna have to fit.
Well, it doesn't look that, I mean, it's not aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
I don't have them all over the place. I know a lot of people come awfully close to the shore on the corners.
And that happens, I mean, you know, I'm on a point, and we get that too, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I think it's just the nature of the game.
If we put additional ones for that, I would mark them differently to say it's a 100-foot buoy, so that you, more of a reference to say here's what. See what.
But I do think that we should put one in front of Sophie's place. I don't have a problem with that just because of the little bump out, like you guys were saying. I don't have a problem with that.
So for water skiers, the two biggest turn spots are, a lot of people turn at 2, you know, from Sophie's over to Al's house.
Right.
Depending on what you're doing. Go down to the end of the lake. If I'm calling somebody relatively new, I always turn at 2 and don't go into the narrower part of the lake.
And I think, my personal opinion is I think, you know, we're changing people's norms here. And I think the less we change, probably the better. Because people are creatures of habit. So bumping them out is one thing, adding more to it's just gonna be, I think like you said, confusing. What I would like to possibly see is maybe we can look into making it beacon lights on the top of them. You know?
Most of them do have them.
They do.
We had night.
So when I was falling too.
We need to get them functioning, because I don't see that they're working.
I know they had them at one time.
Yeah. Tom, you have anything? No. Anybody else? Okay, so, as I said, what we'd like to do is we're gonna send something out on Stan. And what I'd like to do is get more of the folks in the community here. So if the people here can spread the word. We'll further discuss it and we'll vote on it next week, or I'm sorry, next month. And if it's agreeable, and we pass it, then we will go to the full board. And we will recommend that we change it, and then can ask the board members to vote on it, and we can go from there. If that takes place, we could get this passed, and we could be set for March. And then, I guess, just set them away for a calm day.
But I think in reality, it's putting the buoys at 3 and 4 back where they typically are.
It's where the
It's maybe a
historical
tad
spot
bit
was.
further out and moving the 1 and 5. Otherwise, where they've been. So it's.
A little bit
Stay
more, but not
inside
that
3 and 4.
Yeah.
What? This is the longest that they've stayed inside 3 and 4. They've been moved there before, but it lasted for 2 or 3 weeks, and then.
They floated back out.
No, the board agreed and moved them back out intentionally.
What's important is the people in the community know that it's not because so-and-so is on the board, or because so-and-so knows somebody, they're getting preferential treatment, the buoys are going sort. If Dave said it best, we all discussed, it's for safety. I mean, I had 2 little girls that didn't swing them around this past summer, and I was petrified. I thought I got hit by the ladder. And it's not just the community, but the people who come and visit that don't really know the lakes. And
I agree that we need to get rid of that colorful map that's been around forever.
Yeah,
Several times.
needs to go in the trash.
Mike? That colorful map was made 100 years ago. At that time, no one ever said anything about feet from shore. That didn't come into effect until about 10 years ago. Someone said we're supposed to go by
The state.
Coast Guard approval or whatever you call that. And it's 100 feet from shore. That's when it was really said, okay, we have to go by 100 feet from shore. So that map didn't take that into consideration at all. The one from 1802.
So our next is the artificial habitat. Ryan, we were talking in the last meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Conservation department for some blueprints. They're hard to come by. I got a buddy who is actually doing a workshop in Illinois on the same ones that we built here for the MDC lakes. So he is gonna get back with me. He said it's roughly about 100, 125 for materials for one, but they're 4 by 4 by 4.5 tall.
How long would it take us to build them?
You had a couple guys. I think it takes like an hour to build one. Not too long.
You could get our guys, the guys here, we could all do it on a Saturday or Sunday and take 3 or 4 hours
exact dimension of everything.
Okay. The signage on the beach.
Where are the locations for those gonna be?
We haven't.
I was
got-
in on
we
the
had-
phone, so I can't see them, couldn't see them.
Of the fish attractors?
The habitats.
We don't know yet. I mean,
We
it's
haven't
gonna,
just-
it's gonna be when we get in touch with the biologist and he tells us, hey, this would be the best space for them. I mean,
I think that 5 to 7 foot is where we wanna be, where,
Sure.
it used to be a rural,
right.
I put quite a bit of brush in, and
Mhm.
I had to put my brush in 12 feet deeper,
Yeah.
where it's not like eyeball rural, it's just
Sure. Right.
whatever Lake and Beach decided, but obviously we need to change that, cause it's not working.
Signage for, had a gentleman come in, and this is the great big sign, down at the beach. It's just, it's a 4x8, it's a aluminum, and it's reflective metal, so if you pull in the parking lot, it will reflect back. To remove the current sign, the verbiage, because there's issues with the verbiage. The price I got was about $952, and that's for the sign, for the material, and for it to be taken down and the new one put up. So I'll get a couple more bids, and we'll move forward. I'd like to get that done by March. So,
That's the one at the beach.
the big one.
Would we also be putting one at the boat ramp?
Yeah, somebody brought up, about a stop sign, one of our guys, who was that? Somebody was saying that, where the boat ramp, where people launch their boat, that they would like a stop sign there, because cars just fly right by, and I don't know if we wanna look at putting a stop sign there, so at least people come up and they slow down and stop.
Or a
We
yield
got a speed
sign,
bump
maybe?
there.
Maybe a yield sign, what'd you
We
say?
got a speed bump.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
I need speed bumps over signs.
And then obviously, we have other issues with signs that my other and stuff.
Okay, if you get a sign by the boat ramp that says about the fishing, can we make that a separate sign that attaches somehow? We could, cause I think we're gonna be changing
Right.
slot limits and, you know, limits and slot sizes and stuff, so I wouldn't incorporate it in the big sign.
Also, we need to put something up, we got a sign, Joe Heddle, was he here? No, I think he brought it up about people fishing within 100 feet of the swimming area, getting hooks and stuff in little kids' legs and feet, so we'll have to get a sign put out there, so people that are fishing towards the other end.
I think he's saying on the riprap, they fish on the riprap on the dam within 100 feet of the.
Correct.
So it just needs to be no fishing regular.
And as far as the foot bath ordeal, I wasn't here, but just because I wasn't here doesn't mean that I think to leave it the way it is wasteful. I think they've spent so much money on it, we might as well have somebody look into fixing it, or at least making it so it's can be utilized. It's a shame because there's several $1,000s spent on it. So if we get anybody with an idea, I don't know if it's gonna be some type of a pump, something, but I mean, if anybody in the audience knows anybody, I mean, I'm open for suggestions. If we get a bid, or maybe somebody that can look into it.
I think Brian did some research.
I did some research on it, I guess not the last board, but the board before, and, just kind of fell out on the last bit.
So, I mean, I think
Is
it's
there,
okay.
is there electric there now? I haven't been down there.
There's no.
So how, they were getting water out of from the lake?
They were gonna try to do that.
We're gonna try to.
I don't know where they put the ramp down there.
Yeah.
And they were gonna try to have a washing station there where you could squirt your feet off when you got out of came up from the beach, but kind of
So,
died out.
if we
through
could
the
figure
years.
something out, I would like to have it open for this summer. It's,
Did they tear the ramp out and put steps in there now?
Yeah.
Did they?
Steps in there, but there's still a place at the top
Yes.
You can wash your feet off.
Yes, correct, they got a little drain there already.
Right, so,
Yes.
I mean, if we can try and utilize it, I think it'd be a.
Okay. Right.
Also, I got an email, I just wanna make sure I don't bring this up.
What's it there? Sorry to regress, but I remember a discussion about maybe getting away from electricity because of the danger and what happens if it got turned on or somebody turned it on and left it on or something. And I thought there was discussion about a hand pump.
They were gonna, that's exactly where, that's,
Is that where-
that was the last time that I talked to Scott Clark, he said that that's what they were talking about doing, was doing the hand pump. And do,
Is that still
Yeah.
an option?
Yeah,
I'll do some research.
that would make a lot more sense to do it, you know, be safer and everything
Or
else.
we're gonna have to tie into the main across the road and tear the road up to get potable water.
Well, I wasn't too sure if they were talking about running the pipe into the lake and pumping lake water out
Right.
into, using
Is
that.
that gonna be below grade or above grade? Cause it's gonna be, that's gonna have to be something that's gonna be winterized every year and
Correct.
I think that we decided a couple of years ago that core drilling would be cost prohibitive.
yeah, it would,
So we could do something above grade
right.
and have a hand pump, and then we wouldn't have a water. Way that somebody could leave it on, those kind of things, you couldn't get
You get it,
electricity.
Ken, you
I'll
can
talk-
get
I'll talk
it
to-
through the bucket.
Let me look at it, I'll drive down there and look at it and see what I can.
And I'll talk to Scott Clark about.
Okay,
about
cause maybe he had
little
a
bit more.
design that he thought would.
I've reached out to him 3 times, I've asked him, is there any more to it? You have blueprints, is there something you can help me out? He didn't answer. They won't call you back, so maybe you can get him an answer.
We're buddies.
I'm glad.
He loves me.
I received an email and I just wanted to read this out and I have a little thought about it, but I haven't really gotten it deep. I just wanted to throw this out for you guys to think about. One of the citizens wrote, wanting to know about the sludge that we have in other areas, different lakes. They give them Wananoka. Every 5 years, they lower the water and give the property owners opportunity to repair the docks and sand and entryways. They repair and replenish the sand for their beach, etc. At the same time, they dredge the coves that are filling up. They pump the sludge, or dump the sludge, I think, behind the dam somewhere, and let it sit for a while homeowners use it as rich soil. I will attach the company that they shared and with me, and that is this for them. Just a thought, I know that Jay Boise with Checkered Flag Excavating, who may also be doing the same thing. So it's important that we think about this, but I think the issues are, you know, we have a rain-fed lake, and we can't just go dropping the water level, because if we do that, it may take more now.
No guarantee it's gonna fill back up.
We've been praying for rain for months, so that would be my only concern, and the other one
Do
would
they have
be,
to drop the lake water to do this though?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't, I
can
think
tell
they do
you-
that for the sand
And
more.
We were at a wedding and they live on Lake Roanoke, and they said every 5 years, they let out water and give property owners the ability to fix their boat ramps or whatever. They redo their beach and make it out further and stuff like that. And I said, well, how do they do that? And they said, there's an excavating team, which I gave the name and number, and then they just come in and they dredge, and then they let it fill up, and she said, we do it every 5 years, we've never had a problem at not filling up again.
When was the last time that this lake was, the water level was?
I don't know, what was it?
They're doing it this year.
How big is one?
What?
Lake Wampanoag.
No, our lake, when is the last time we dropped it? Because there's gotta be a water intake somewhere to drain the lake more of it.
No, they've never done it.
I don't believe it. I don't.
Just control structure to drain it. It's, all our spillways run through our.
There's no secondary.
Yeah, I don't recall.
You
Yeah,
gotta
someone else knows.
I think
There's no
Martin
drain
Tola
plug?
told me there.
No, right
You
there.
might wanna ask Martin.
We have those,
If it
you know,
hasn't been
sometimes
opened
you
yet,
see on
we-
properties that like you've got that, big pipe that comes out and has that cap on it, that, I don't know if it feeds into the lake or comes out, I don't know. I know there's one
Maybe
by
they
our.
pump it out, yeah.
Well,
But I don't think you would have
Yeah, you
to
could
do
just
that
you
just
could just
to
prime
dredge.
It kind of came in late. I thought I'd bring it up for discussion. You guys want to think about it, and we can, you know, table it for tonight and bring it up in the next meeting. I think some good can happen, but I also think that we had some guys get in trouble or could have got in trouble with the sewer pipes that run across the lakes, and I don't know, you know, we have broken sewer lines in the lake, we're gonna be in trouble, so I don't know what all would be involved there.
That is the idea though, isn't a bad idea where it comes in, if you know, or, let me back up. As I understand it, the problem with our lake isn't that, dirt and debris is coming in and filling up, it's mostly, vegetation that's coming down.
The end of the coast is dirt.
Is it actual dirt, or then you have to, if you go to the DNR, they have, Department of Ag, they have all kinds of plans on how to build little silt traps up on the uplands to catch that silt as it comes down, every once in a while you dig them out. I mean, that's normally what they do on farms and everything, so if you did have, access to a lot like that, you could deploy some of those things. It's not an unreasonable way to go.
There was talk at one time, we live on Spring Lake and we're in the cove that is horrendous and it's filling up fast. And it's filled up a lot faster in the last, 2 years because above us, there's been massive construction and everything, they've cleared the land, so now it's all coming in. It used to be when we first moved here, it was a lot of the silt stuff, twigs, leaves, things like that, and it would mush down. And when we had our boathouse built, they took 40 loads of stuff out to make our boathouse. And he said it's very good. If you let it sit, it'll stink for a while, but if you let it sit, it's really good soil. Well, in the last 2 years, we're filling up with gravel now. I mean, it's nothing but gravel. And so, you know, you're gonna have to get in and dredge that to get gravel out.
Yeah, they slightly improved that culvert just upstream from you, and that gravel comes through with more
Right,
velocity.
and then right there, Waterfront and Redwood, there are always there's 2 or 3 lots right there that are always for sale. You see signs all the time for sale, and when I was on the board, I had mentioned to them that maybe it would be something to look into, that the POA could purchase those for a very low price, and that would be a very good place to put a silt trap from those hills, and you would have access to be able to dig it, you know, clean it out. But that would help prevent some of that stuff coming in.
We did tour this lake with a guy from the Soil Conservation Service here in the Hillsborough office, looking at just those things. So there is, he had a few suggestions, but there was a lot of things we couldn't do a lot about, but we could deploy some of the ideas that he had.
Well, I think we need to further discuss it. Ken, you didn't happen to find those minutes, did you?
I did not, I'm sorry.
No big deal. Ken sent the meetings out, the minutes out. He has a Mac, and for some reason, when he sends stuff to me,
I gotta convert it to a
he's
PDF.
gotta convert it to a PDF, and I had it.
I may not have done that.
So what I'd like to do is, well, put forth the minutes for November, and we'll put them in with tonight's meeting minutes. And our next meeting in February, we'll go through and vote on passing both of them. Before we leave, does anybody have any questions or concerns or? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Michael, on that one, that Dale Miller comes out.
Yep.
What's he gonna inspect on the Center Lake Dam?
What's he gonna inspect? The spillway and Spring Lake, Winter Lake, and the backside of it where there's apparently some kind of seepage.
Backside of
That's what he's gonna be looking at. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to verify one more time, are we gonna, is the, Lakes and Beaches going to look into treating Spring Lake for algae?
Correct.
Okay.
I didn't want to say it in front of him, but we've had a couple other companies. This gentleman, the bid that they gave us is right at I think it's $25,000. I don't have the exact number in front of me. The other company wanted close to $60,000, almost pretty much a little over double what they wanted. And that was a company that apparently prior administration used, and there was some kind of a fallout or something. They decided that they were gonna wipe the slate clean and work with us, and we just don't feel comfortable working with them because of the cost. I reached out to a couple other companies, and some of them are, one of them is down south, and the other one is way up north, and they just don't have any offices that would deal with what we have. Either the lakes aren't big enough, or they just don't have the capability of handling what we need to do on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Yep.
I have a question regarding the buoys and the placement and all that, that looked like great work. I have no experience with living on the lake to see what traffic looks like and how it can be, and I certainly am not on a boat towing anyone, to do that. So the purpose of a buoy is for, and I heard safety, that's awesome. So we're talking safety of the person on the boat and water skiing or tubing, but we're also talking safety of our property lines, right? And so there's some concern, it sounds like that, concern's not the right word. You were saying we need to make sure this message gets out, and we need people to understand why we're doing this and whatever. So is there some thought we're gonna have a problem with that other than habit? Like, oh my gosh, it's.
No.
Okay.
Just, my thought is, when you're changing the norms.
Right.
People don't like the norms changed.
Right.
And if you have a cup of coffee and walk out and you see the buoy moved.
Right.
Your first indication is why is it moved, then you're probably listening, they're on Facebook, everybody's, I want to make sure that it's crystal clear.
Right.
That nobody in the community is getting jaded, somebody's getting better treatment. I want to make sure everybody in the community knows why they're being moved.
Right.
In the location, and give them the opportunity to speak, because once we move them, if that's what we decide to do, I don't want to hear people.
Right.
I don't want to hear Facebook messages, Lakes and Beaches moving because they're friends with so-and-so. I don't want to hear it.
But all the owners
I want
that live on
everybody in
it,
the community to have a say, and I think it's fair.
the owners that live there should be happy because we're thinking of safety of their property, but also the people on the lake is thinking, cool, now there's safety here. It's a win-win is what I'm trying to say, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool, thanks.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Did I hear Kent say a few minutes ago that we can't put any chemicals in Spring Lake because of the golf course uses it?
I think they have some kind of an agreement with the golf course.
There is an agreement
We can't have put herbicides, but I mean,
in Spring Lake.
before we treat Spring Lake, we go and meet with Dave Tucker, we give him the chemicals and the sheets, and he's been good with everything we've given him so far.
So that lake's treated differently as far as treatment, we have to.
But it just doesn't get any herbicide because that would kill the grass, although they just told us there's irrigation safe herbicides, so maybe there is, but he told us that
They pump the water
Spring
out
Lake-
of there to treat as golf.
Spring Lake
course.
is primarily water willow. He said he doesn't see naiad in there, so he told us he wouldn't recommend that we use herbicide now.
Okay.
Of course,
We were with him when he trained.
but this may not be the right time of year for him to look. But they're dynamic. 2 years ago, the lake was great.
We can't.
Treated the algae in the lake.
Apparatus on a string.
We treated the algae.
Yes.
I've got one of those.
Was great.
And he didn't find any in there.
Yep.
So he said that he didn't see that I had, just the water willow.
Okay.
Anybody else? I sure thank everybody for coming. I appreciate your time. And like I said, the next meeting, if you can get the word out.